Our story begins over 75 years ago. A time when our world was devastated by the forces of Nazism and their quest for world domination. Conversely, many people overlook, or fail to realize, how World War II Germany was a largely Christian nation, a religious law-abiding country, that was quickly led down a dark path by an occult hierarchy. The result of a leadership, which followed many pagan beliefs. Cleverly, the free will of this nation was overpowered by Adolf Hitler's relentless philosophies, his creeds and his dogma. Hitler's occult ideology saw racial purity as the key to Germany's destiny. This soon became a new religion based on obedience, power and the cult of the leader, with Hitler himself revered as their own messianic savior. No one was immune, as Hitler forced the children of his nation to take up his cause. At the annual Nazi Party rally of 1935, Hitler revealed, "He alone who owns the youth, gains the future." So, how could a Christian nation go down such a dark and appalling path? How could their occult hierarchy and their quest for occult powers and secrets destroy their moral compass? To help answer these questions, to prevent these dark chapters of history repeating, we need to examine how our intelligence can become overpowered by emotions, and how anyone's free will can become compromised with new arts of warfare. The Manchurian Candidate was first adapted into a feature film in 1962. The movie trailer expressly warned not to arrive late. The film's all-important first 5 minutes depicts a group of American soldiers being tricked by an enemy operative into making a tactical error. Soon they are captured, knocked unconscious and then transported deep into Chinese territory, to a place called Manchuria. The years have now marched forward, and the war in Korea was over. But for Captain, now Major Bennett Marco, night after night, he was plagued by the same, reoccurring nightmare. One that was connected somehow, to when he served in combat. This scene is unique, as it slowly pans around the room, where we observe a ladies' garden party lecture on how to care for hydrangeas, and then onto the same American soldiers calmly sitting, bored but polite, because as we are about to discover, they are hallucinating and believing that they are truly attending the same lecture.
To plants than hilltops, but the avoidance of late spring and early autumn frost enjoyed.
Allow me to
They are oblivious to the crowd, who it turns out, are their sworn enemies observing them. In the 1950s and 60s, traveling performers conducting stage hypnosis were common. When the movie first came out, the public easily understood how their perceptions of reality were altered, how their free will was incapacitated.
You will notice that I have told them they may smoke. I've allowed my people to have a little fun in the selection of bizarre tobacco substitutes. Are you enjoying your cigarette, Ed?
Yes, ma'am. Yak dung. Oh, tastes good. Like a cigarette should. Now then, comrade.
May I present the famous Raymond Shaw?
Young man, you've flown 8,000 miles to this dreary spot in Manchuria to see. Raymond, pull your chair over here by me, please. I am sure you've all heard the old wives' tale that no hypnotized subject may be forced to do that which is repellent to his moral nature, whatever that may be. Nonsense, of course. Oh, you note-takers.
The soldiers were hallucinating very vividly and for great lengths of time. Obviously, the longer you hold any dream-like sequence, then the stronger the effects. Just like anything else, our minds improve with practice, and this includes any ability to hallucinate.
Or, of course, Andrew Salter's remarkable book, Conditioned Reflex Therapy, to name only 3. Tell me, Raymond, have you ever killed anyone?
No, ma'am.
Not even in combat?
Yes, ma'am, I think so.
Of course you have, Raymond. Raymond has been a crack shot since childhood.
Marvelous outlet for his aggressions. May I have the bayonet, please?
Not with the knife, with the hands.
With the hands?
Here, have him use this.
Ah, da, da. Raymond, whom do you dislike the least in your group here today?
The least?
That's right.
Well, I guess Captain Markham, ma'am.
Notice how he is always drawn to authority. That won't do, Raymond. We need the captain to get you your medal. Who else?
Well, I guess Ed Mavoli, ma'am.
Ah, that's better. Now then, Raymond, take this scarf and strangle Ed Mavoli to death.
Excuse me, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Pardon me.
Hey, Sarge, cut it up. What? Quiet, Ed, please. Now you just sit there quietly and cooperate.
Yes, ma'am.
To witness Sergeant Raymond Shaw strangle and kill his comrade, at Dr. Yen Lo's order, seems ludicrous, but to many others who feared hypnosis and its possible dark sides, the movie revealed enough realism to make the whole concept of bypassing or even hijacking a person's free will somewhat plausible.
5% of the population can be described as extremely suggestible.
What can you make them do?
Anything.
In the spirit of fairness, plausible hypnotic accounts, made in Hollywood, are one factor, while actual hypnotic events are another. True, detailed accounts matter. Our story now changes and begins with how I was subjected to a series of covert hypnotic experiments while I was a child. These experiments were conducted while I was in elementary school. I was almost 7 years old, and here's what I remember. Our school day began with our class moving downstairs into the basement lunchroom. A film projector had already been set up, and we were going to see a film. At first the metronome seemed harmless, comical even.
Some of my classmates even rocked their heads left, then right, in unison with it. Soon, however, they stopped. The man in the film was talking about stuff that seemed far more suitable for high schoolers. I found the metronome annoying, and so I shielded it from my view, as best as I could. After the film finished, the man who ran the film projector asked us if anyone wanted to use the washroom. I was the only one who wanted to get far away from such a boring film. Later, my teacher told me I would have to see it again. Tell your mother that you will need to stay a bit late tomorrow, she advised. That following afternoon, I saw it once more and alone. Again, trying my best to concentrate on that man's dialogue, I squinted my eyes and shut out the metronome. Eventually, the film ran out, and with no one else in the room, I unplugged the projector and then went to the next room to tell teacher the film was over. A year later, I would be singled out again. This time, during our morning school recess, a boy from another class seemed to know what was going on. It would be another hypnosis film, and he mocked me for having to see it once more. I went to the basement lunch room, just like that first time. This time, I was joined by 3 other kids, new to our school. The film was different. There was no visible metronome, and the projector was a bit faulty. I could see parts of the metronome wand spliced into the film. When the film ended, the man running the projector stated loudly, "You have been hypnotized and there is nothing to fear about hypnosis." Afterwards I thought to myself, they could have written that on a blackboard just as easily.
Mysteriously, 2 months later, in November, President John F. Kennedy was shot by a man who has been widely called a programmed assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald. He moved to Russia and then returned to Texas, where he just happened to have the perfect perch from which to make his infamous shot from the Texas School Book Repository. The ideal spot, overlooking Kennedy's parade route. How could all of this have happened? And then of course, there was his own assassination 2 days later, at the hands of Jack Ruby. Moving quickly through the crowd, Ruby stepped out from behind the wall of reporters and fired his .38 caliber revolver into Oswald's abdomen, killing him, and silencing the truth forever. Once more, everything seemed to fall perfectly into place for evil, leaving the world in disbelief. Don't forget, less than 5 years later, America faced yet another high-profile assassination. President John Kennedy's younger brother Bobby was killed by Sirhan, a man who to this day claims he was hypnotized, with his free will hijacked and then forced into committing his crime.
The theory that a single bullet struck down both the president and the governor, for example, has too much of the long arm of coincidence about it for us to be entirely comfortable.
The subject of hypnosis would appear once more in my senior high school. This simple back-and-forth banter had far more serious undertones than what anyone could ever realize. The sales pitch was to attend a seance and see what your future might hold. Their emphasis was two-directional. How they could reveal stuff from your early childhood, things that you had long forgotten about. But they could even go beyond that. They could even reveal any past lives you might have pre-lived. Certain students boasted about how gifted these people were. Then there was the other direction, towards the future.
They were so sensitive that they were able to foretell your whole future, right up until your own death. The adults, conducting their seance, are very good at it. I don't know how they do it, but they sure blew my mind. You just got to be willing to be hypnotized, that's all.
The conversations and the boasts progressed.
If what they show you is possible, then you might be able to change certain things. Even bad things, and even avoid an early death. Who wants to die at 17? Think about it. You could go through 12 years of book reports, tests, and detentions, only to die a week or two after you graduate. Not me.
Other conversations became humorous.
You might even avoid getting your girlfriend pregnant, or even be able to see what your wife would look like in 20 or 30 years from now.
Or, in your case Joey, if you keep doing the things that you do, it will be your cellmates.
As one classmate joked with another. Now of legal drinking age, I got together with my brother for some nighttime excitement. This one night would prove itself to be a key turning point in my life. Our evening began harmless enough, as we went to a hotel lounge and happened to meet an older and married woman we knew. After our first drink together, my brother abruptly left, saying that he had some personal business to attend to. Now alone with Mrs. Harlot, she coerced me into trying a Shirley Temple, complete with a decorative, pink umbrella. Oddly, the server came by and whispered in my ear how she believed she might have spiked it with something. She was right, because within 20 minutes, I had tunnel vision. I was losing all control, I was almost passing out. In short order, I was led out to the street, and into a waiting car. Over the next hour, 3 more people were also picked up. And close to midnight, we were all delivered to a strange house. Still heavily sedated, I found myself in a basement, laid out on an improvised table, and nearby were cheap curtains, creating a small, cordoned-off area. An old woman wearing an unusual robe, with white-edged trim, came to look in on me. I soon found myself surrounded by a group of people, all wearing the same and strange, satanic-style robes. Mrs. Harlot was also present as she declared,
"You're our guest of honor, and now you need to recognize me as your high priestess. Will you please play a few games with me?"
I recall counting backwards from 100. Slowly, but surely, I drifted off, like I was in a dream. And I probably only got as far as the 80s before I lost my count. Next, I was counting out 11 fingers on my hands and feeling very confused as to how such a total of 11 was even possible. I glanced down and noticed the calf of my leg being pierced by a needle. The high priestess informed me I was under hypnosis. She needed to determine just how deeply, how thorough my mind and my body was paralyzed. And now satisfied, she suggested,
"Choose a color, any color you want, and I'll see if I can guess what one it is."
So, I thought of a yellow finch.
Your color choice is yellow, like that of a small bird. Now let's try something harder, such as a numbers game. Pick a number, any number between 1 and 100, but don't say it aloud. I will try and guess what it is. I can now see, in your mind, your pick.
She correctly guessed my number, and then boasted,
I can even read your thoughts.
For a moment, I was in denial of her abilities. But she had always been correct. And in all honesty, I sensed a sort of mental joining. I could sense her personality, embedded within my thoughts. She then proceeded to probe my memories. She made me look back and remember my life with an open mind. First, it was my early childhood. And then, to a past life, before I was even born. She had me believing I was at one time a famous aviator. And even farther back, a friar monk of the Middle Ages. The occult priestess then moved my thoughts towards the future. She declared she would pick a moment in time for me to witness. At first it was very scenic and calming, since I was flying over a city. Suddenly, my serenity was shattered by violent acts of jetliners impacting skyscrapers. Utterly blown away and astonished by the realisms, by the clarity of everything, my visions recoiled, in reverse to the present. Everything, and I mean everything, looked so vivid, right down to the newspaper headlines. How they could do all this was awe-inspiring. I would see acts of terrorism. Politicians, fated to enter politics. Songs, destined to be aired on the radio. Lottery programs, certain to be conceived. And friends in towns that I would never know, for another 20 years. It was an element of paganism that I almost worshipped. However, I also saw the early death for my brother. His suicide, and who was responsible. I even saw how he was manipulated, and pushed over the edge. It became clear, I was being led down a rabbit hole where they had the upper hand. Prophecies and predictions, of this magnitude, are hard for some people to accept. And very powerful for those who do. After all, how can someone possibly predict something that hasn't happened yet? But consider our history. Such as the Druids, who were the powerful and mysterious priests of the Celtic people. Legends indicate that the Druids were known as prophets, seeing into the future, and foretelling victories and disasters, such as predicting the destiny of a child yet to be born, and specifying how a person would die. Trying to predict the future, in its most simple forms, would be how we view luck, especially when gambling. On a higher level, some view luck as a supernatural force, one that exists throughout the universe. They even believe it can become harnessed. Still not convinced? Then perhaps, reflect on how many people became famous. Reflect upon their special legacies. Consider how many have done the seemingly impossible, and made some amazingly true predictions. Finally, take into account the worldly roles of mystic predictions, and how they helped to shape and define our religions. You might want to keep an open mind about all of this. Perhaps, a profound question to ask might be, is this something you're born with? A power in the form of enhanced intuition? If so, then this might explain why some people or family dynasties are so rich and powerful. This now prompts the question of, should this new and emerging secret society be worshipped, or better yet, feared, as they conduct their art of war in the dead of night? In any case, before this night was over, I was programmed to return to the same house in 666 days. Just like what a homing pigeon would do. What's more, over the months that followed, I observed a cashless barter system. I saw how certain people seemed programmed to aid each other. Many, satisfying their sexual urges, which were rampant. Their free will, their consent, was bypassed. At one time, I believed that no hypnotized subject may be forced to do that, which is repellent to his moral nature, but now, no longer. They were never turned into Manchurian assassins. But they were like hacked computers, and taken over for a while. They were given new roles to play and act out and then controlled like marionette puppets. Always, unable to decide certain moral issues for themselves. Even days later, after trying my best to help them remember their strange behaviors, their sexual hookups, their encounters, they remained in total denial as if they were suffering from amnesia. Something profound to consider is the long game. Altering the free will of a person is a small first step, but then, to modify entire classrooms, the populations of towns and cities, is obviously a giant leap. Furthermore, over the next decade, I would witness these hypnotic links in places all over British Columbia, into Alberta, and even across the United States border, into towns like Blaine, cities like Spokane, and especially Los Angeles, California. These expansion levels should not be ignored, since they imply a new form of warfare. The arts of this war hinges on the secret tricks these pagan cults, the Illuminati, deploy on our young teens. Learning more about hypnosis is the key to leveling this playing field.
One of the most powerful tools a hypnotist has is language. Words can sell products. Words can start wars. Words can change the world. Salespeople, professional communicators, and politicians all use the strengths and weaknesses of language to their advantage. In a sense, they're all hypnotists. We use words to represent things in our mind. It's one of the main ways we make sense of the world. But at the same time, it's also the way others can get access to your mind to influence you. And if they do it with the techniques hypnotists use, there's a good chance they'll soon have you seeing things their way, whether you like it or not. Just think about it.
Even today, scientists still have trouble explaining hypnosis. They best describe it with a list of 8 primary or intrinsic mental and physical phenomena that it produces. Secret societies covet them, in the following order of importance. Number 8 is hyperacuity. This is an abnormal sharpening of the senses. A hypnotized person can hear a wall clock or even a watch ticking across the room at a cocktail party. Number 7 is psychography or automatic writing. This is when the subject's innermost thoughts pour out onto paper, straight from the subconscious. Sometimes written backwards or even upside down. Number 6 is anesthesia. This is the insensitivity to pain, such as piercing legs or hands with needles. In this instance, the woman does not even flinch, in the slightest. Hypnotic anesthesia has been used in certain medical fields for decades. Number 5 is catalepsy. This is far more than just the waxy rigidity of the limbs. A deeply hypnotized person can easily become severely frozen and immobile. So severe, they can even support the weight of someone standing on them. Catalepsy can also be used to reinforce a state of helplessness towards achieving a goal of total compliance. Number 4 is age regression.
James Mates, the hypnotist, will perform a phenomenal age regression demonstration. From Hollywood, it's Mike Douglas, People Now.
And here's one of our interns, Bill Brummel. Right. Bill, where are you from?
From Los Angeles.
Good. Nice to have you here, Bill.
Thank you.
Good. We're going to do this very quickly, Bill, so put your feet flat on the floor. And I should mention that Bill was pre-hypnotized and left with a cue to be able to relax very quickly. So take your elbow. Good. Put your arms. Just close your eyes.
Good night, Bill.
Good.
Good night, everybody.
All right, now put your concentration right on my finger, there. And start your relaxation from the back of your head, over your shoulders, down through the body, and sleep. And let yourself go. Good. And when I just touch the back of yourself, let yourself go just a little deeper. Good. As you breathe, let yourself relax just a little more and listen to my voice. In a moment, I'm going to have you open your eyes, and I'm going to have you sign your signature at your present age. And as I speak with you, with your eyes open, you will go back in your past. You will rewind the tape of your unconscious mind, your computer, and you'll find as you go back in your past, you will be totally safe, and you'll be here with me and Bill, wide awake. Would you do me a favor? Would you just put your name by the 26 here, and that's how old you are, because I asked you before, as exactly as you would sign a check. Good. Let's just... Very good, Bill. Now, just close your eyes, and you are now 12 years old. Everything is exactly as it was when you were 12 years old. You're 12 years old, you're safe, you're happy, you're here with me, you're 12 years old and wide awake. How old are you?
12.
Now just listen to the voice also as we do this. Would you do me a favor, Bill? Would you just put your name by the 12, please? Just put your name and take your time. Now, the beauty of age regression is that it can be used for the elimination or reduction of fears and phobias. You put your last name there too, Bill. It's also used in police work. It's used to obtain information from our past that can clue us into why we are the way we are. Very good. And close your eyes. You're 5 years old, and everything is exactly as it was when you were 5 years old. You were 5 years old yesterday. And you had if you had a birthday party, you're at that birthday party now. You're there. Now it's the day after your 5th birthday party, Bill. Wide awake. How old are you?
I'm 5.
Can you put your name on this paper right here? Good.
I think so.
Good. Just put anything you want there. Just good. And draw me a little picture there while we're talking. Did you? We'll hold this up for the camera in a second. But he
printed
bumps.
B-U-M-P-S. Which is probably his nickname at that age.
And there have been people that I have regressed who have spoken a language that they haven't spoken in 15, 20 years, or played a musical instrument that they haven't played before. Very good. Did you have a birthday party yesterday? And who was your best friend that was there?
Mike Gibbons.
And did you get any toys?
Yeah.
And what was your favorite toy?
I got a baseball and a bat.
Oh, very
That's it
good.
right there.
What kind of cake did you have?
Chocolate.
Are you in school yet?
Yes.
What are you
Kindergarten.
doing? Kindergarten.
54th Street School.
Good. What's your teacher's name?
Mrs. Bonus.
Mrs. Bonus. Do you like Mrs. Bonus?
She's all right.
Good. What's your favorite thing in kindergarten?
Recess. I like to play.
So what we did here is we have gone back in his computer.
Am I showing it to the right camera?
He's back. Yeah. He's back out now. You're coming back in time. You're 12. You're 26 years old, and you will not remember anything from this regression which could make you unhappy or sad or cause you any problems in your waking life or your dream life, but you will remember all those things could make you smile. I'll have him open his eyes in a second.
In previous age regressions, it's been revealed how a subject could even be regressed to a 1-year-old, so completely, he'll cry for his bottle. Number 3 is hallucinations. This is seeing things which don't truly exist. And about allowing oneself to descend into profound states of role play.
Hypnosis shows I used to avoid ever turning people into chickens because it's cliche and silly, but then I actually learned something amazing. When you do the research, there's something amazing about people being chickens. So I'm going to do a demonstration. Deep breath in, relax, and sleep. Beautiful. You are a chicken. You peck and you say "baka," and you do all the chickeny things. You are a chicken. Chickens can come out. You can step up here. Now, one thing about chickens and cats.
Hallucinations come easily and can be used to cure phobias.
The old conventional psychiatric treatments for phobias are quite different, and they can take as much as 6 months to have any real effect.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to work on evolving a more useful way for you to react to spiders. So the first step is to disturb the fear, interrupt it, break it up, and now...
Now, watch. This is the secret of how the fast phobia cure works. In his mind, the subject is told to picture his worst fear, then make fun of it. He can imagine anything he likes, and by thinking of the object of his fear in a ridiculous way, the phobia is dissolved, often through laughter. How could anyone be scared of something as silly as this?
However, the opposite of pleasure and healing is pain and agony. Secret societies soon realize the benefits of creating states of constant and continuous terror, since the mind can now be used against itself. Phobia indoctrinations, such as imaginary spiders, chainsaw killers, and even cages with rats strapped to your face, are their holy grails. All resulting in states of insidious, destructive fears, so intense, victims are held hostage by them. Number 2 is amnesia. This is the blotting out of such things as names or numbers. Quick internet searches reveal simple scripts on how to induce some basic but very effective amnesias. But with laughter, also comes sadness, and torment.
We're going to start out now with that bombshell case in Ohio, where a lawyer guilty of hypnotizing several clients so he could molest them. The women say they have no memory of what happened. ABC's Mara Schiavocampo is here with more on how the lawyer was finally caught. Good morning, Mara.
George, good morning. A really unbelievable story. That lawyer admitting to using hypnosis to essentially put these women into a trance, causing them to forget hours of time during which he took advantage of them sexually.
A divorce lawyer is meeting with a female client, but you've never seen an attorney behave like this guy.
1, 2, 3, sleep.
He's using hypnosis to prey on women who are in a vulnerable time in their lives.
As I rock you gently, the deepness of that sleep gets even better, more relaxed. Every part of you goes limp. 1, 2, 3, limp.
Listen how lurid he gets.
When you look into my eyes, you're going to feel such attraction and arousal.
And how's this for creepy?
And have you missed me? Let's take a deep breath. One more time. Okay, I gotta calm down. Let's do this together. You're gonna feel a wave of relaxation.
But as this secretly recorded video shows, once this unsuspecting woman came under his spell, he implanted lewd suggestions.
Every time I touch you, it's gonna be an incredible sensation of incredible arousal and excitement and intense pleasure.
Some of the conversation is too raunchy to air.
He used my trust in his position as my attorney to gain information about my vulnerabilities.
According to legal documents, in 2013, one of Fine's clients noticed that after their appointments, her bra was disheveled and that she could not recall the entire duration of these meetings, something that happened again and again. Suspicious, she began tape recording her conversations. Learning shocking details about their meetings, she says she didn't remember. That Fine began to use code words to get her into a trance-like stage, and then engaged in a sexually charged discussion, saying things like, "At the count of 3, you won't be able to control yourself."
And our top, intrinsic phenomenon, is revivification. This feature is the most important one of all to secret societies. Occult film examples are next to impossible to obtain. Therefore, this following example is from The Hot Rock, a movie created in 1972.
This the plan?
No. On that one, we don't get the diamond.
You got one when we do get it?
The only trouble is we also get caught. I tried everything I could think of. I did. But you see, the walls of the vault are 27 inches thick. And if that's not enough, miasma. Miasma.
I'm sorry. Floor 26, please. Look at the lights.
I beg your pardon?
Look at the lights. See how even they are. How regular. What a rhythm they have. Look at them. They're fascinating. You feel the soothing effect of them. You can feel the soothing effect relaxing you. Relaxing deeply. And as you look at the numbers, your eyelids are growing heavy. Very heavy.
I'd like to see about running a safe deposit vault. Yes, a safe deposit.
You see, you can do everything I tell you to do, is that right?
Yes.
That is right. And you will do everything I tell you to do, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, that is right. You are deep asleep. Soon, a man is going to come into your place of employment, into the bank where you work. Do you understand me?
Yes.
When this man says to you the words, Afghanistan, banana stand, you will do exactly what he tells you to do. Do you understand this?
I will do exactly what he tells me to do.
That is fine. Very good. You see how peaceful you feel by following my suggestions? It makes you feel so good and so secure. Now, what is it that the man will say to you?
Afghanistan, banana stand.
Your key, sir.
I can take it to an alcove if you prefer privacy.
That won't be necessary. Okay. Thank you. Wasn't so long.
No, sir.
Afghanistan, banana stand.
Yes, sir.
We'll open this box now.
Yes. I can take it to an alcove if you prefer privacy, sir.
Please.
As you can see from this example, hypnotic revivification can use to return a subject to a former trance, implanted minutes, hours, or even years earlier.
Your key, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
The key arts behind this war combine the four hypnotic elements of catalepsy, age regression, hallucinations, and amnesia. Once combined, they can reduce any subject into a compliant and terrified child, willing to keep dark secrets. One profound and overlooked paradox is how any trance can be enhanced with the use of high-grade pot or cannabis. It's like using steroids for bodybuilding, having a rocket engine, or a nuclear bomb. Cannabis use makes any trance at least 5 times more effective. Before long, amnesia money loans can turn prolific. These new arts easily evolve into amnesia sex, along with the cardinal rule to always use a condom. 4 hypnotic elements that are so effective, they discovered how they could bypass all levels of consent and create new personalities. Complex characters, such as lonely housewives, informants, double agents and fetish sex slaves. Distinct characters, so engrossed in the act of role-play that they forget who they once represented. And with no memories of what they had done. These role-play characters are revived on cue, by revivification, time after time, after time.
Yes, sir.
This assimilation process began almost 100 years ago. This secret society now commands an army of underlings in the thousands. Perhaps even in the tens of thousands. With all 5 elements, they now become the key building blocks for mind control. Be aware that this occult revivification process does not wear off. It becomes permanent. Personally, I've experienced occult revivification, implanted 17 years earlier. Some hypnotists will admit they don't know how far back they could go. Don't be surprised if one solitary night of occult fun scars you for life. Sun Tzu's The Art of War is the most influential thesis regarding strategy ever written, and can be simplified into 4 tenets. Avoid what is strong, and fight what is weak. Extreme excellence consists of breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. It is far more important to outthink your enemy than it is to outfight him. All warfare is based on deception. Hence, be so subtle that you are invisible. Be so mysterious that you are intangible. Then you will control your rival's fate. Aware of these tenets, secret societies target children and especially teenagers to exploit their vulnerabilities. They strike at the young because of their curiosity, because of their fledgling idealism, and their cravings to belong to a sympathetic collective. Sadly, many have trapdoors inside. They strike at the young, as they begin to declare, "This is who I am, separate from my parents," as they cut away their apron strings. They strike at the young, just as teens get involved with things that they do not readily share with their parents. They begin to keep secrets. They strike at the young because they feel invincible and take enormous risks with drugs, sex, or alcohol. And because many eagerly seek out the powers of the occult, the supernatural. They strike at the young because they are hard to read or understand by their families. They know that they are moody, incorrigible, difficult to deal with, and at times, even defiant. In fact, they count on this window of social upheaval. They strike at the young because they are soft, easy targets, and no one knows how to protect them. No one understands the enemy preying upon them. If you wish to discover more about these hidden threats to your teenagers, to your country, to our world even, then check out R.A. Chamberlain's memoir, available at Amazon Books. Also, check out the extra description info that accompanies this video. It has many great links to other hypnotic accounts and to R.A. Chamberlain's website. Thanks for watching, and if you learned anything from this presentation, then please click your like button.